Hello there guys, it's Steven here. It's Monday the 5th of February, it's a new week and there's no games now until the week, and we've got no midweek game for what feels like the first time in ages. The players are off on holiday, Kevin De Bruyne is on a plane somewhere to some sunny beach no doubt, and we've got nothing to talk about directly. So I thought I'd use today to discuss something that's been hogging the headlines for the past 48 hours, something that's been very divisive, something that's been getting people ranting left, right and centre, whether Pep was right to name only 6 substitutes against Burnley. But before I go too far, as ever, I want to say thank you to the newest patrons, the ones keeping this channel alive. Guys, you're all absolute heroes. These are the new names today. Sam Battler, I can't pronounce that, Jonathan Roper, Niall Egan, Jacob Povitz, and Nicola, my girlfriend Nicola Burns. She's up to pledge from $1 to $3 to get a shout out. Stay classy, Nicola. If you want to get involved, patreon.com/Esteemed Company. Now, but before I go into this video, I want to add a very big, huge disclaimer. I am not unbiased here. I am not probably the fairest person to talk about this. As you all know about me, I'm a massive advocate of youth football, but I'm going to try and be as honest as I can be, as fair as I can be in this situation. I'm going to discuss all the talking points for and against this decision and let you decide in the comments whether Pep was right to make this. I'm sure Pep doesn't really care at all what we think about his decision making, and rightfully so, but it's definitely something that's interesting. It's definitely something that's got people talking, so I thought it was worth discussing today. And I'm going to start here with the arguments for Guardiola, the ones that support him for naming only 6 substitutes. And the first one is an obvious one. He's Pep Guardiola. He's earned the right to do whatever he wants. That's a fair argument to bring to the table, given the fact that he's been breaking records this season, given the fact that he's been exceptional, given the fact that he's this genius, almost supremely intelligent manager. If he thinks this is in the best interests of the club, then so be it. A lot of people would turn around and say, this man understands how people think. He understands management better than 99.9% of managers ever been in the game. Maybe even more than anyone. He's that good a manager. So who are we to question Guardiola? It's a very fair argument. I don't think football should ever not be questioned. I think people are entitled to the opinion, but Guardiola sees things on a level that most of us simply don't, and that's a very fair point to raise. He's an exceptionally emotional person, Guardiola. He would understand how a decision like this would come across to other people. He'd understand maybe the negative emotions that would arise from this from an academy player or academy coach. So what's to say that he hasn't discussed this beforehand? What's to say that he hasn't thought about this in depth and decided that this is the best cause? And people will understand at the club why he's made this decision. Guardiola doesn't tend to miss a trick, so why would he miss a trick here? It's possible, but why would he? A lot of people as well said he was using this rightfully to send a message to the Premier League to say stop injuring our players. Maybe he was making a point that our squad depth isn't that big. Maybe he was saying, look how threadbare we are. Look how many players are getting injured. Look what this grueling fixture routine is doing for our squad. Look what it's doing to these people that made this product, this Premier League product, so exciting for the masses. He's probably basically saying, stop letting this happen. And I guess if Guardiola does that, you take notice, and it's happened. The press have noticed this weekend. If that's what he's doing, maybe that's fair. Some people would say that's a little bit petty. Maybe he shouldn't take it out on the team or whatever, but that's your opinion to decide. Some people would also say that a spot on the bench has to be earned, not just given by default. They would point to the likes of Adebayo on the bench, Brahim Diaz, who got on, of course, and then Zinchenko, maybe not an academy graduate, but a young lad who's worked really hard this season and got his chance. They would say that you can't just pull any of these EDS players up there and say you're there by default. I mean, there are arguments for and against that, but it's true. The theory behind that is true. You can't just throw a player in for the sake of it. They have to warrant that position. They have to earn it through their performances in both training and the EDS. A lot of people were saying as well that the EDS played the night before, and therefore it wasn't really possible and plausible for them to get to the Burnley game. They were best served, in Guardiola's eyes, according to some people, according to Guardiola himself, just playing football and going out there on the pitch. And obviously there is something to that. Football is a lifeblood of what they are. That's their education to play EDS games. That's a very fair argument in itself as well. There's also the argument that they wouldn't have played. Most likely would have been just sat on the bench collecting splinters, doing nothing, and probably been forced to drag to Burnley for absolutely no reason at all. All these reasons are very good. They're all obvious logical reasons. I can't deny any of them. I'm personally on the next side of the fence, but those reasons do make sense. I think it's fair to look at both sides of the argument always and consider a logical opinion, which is why looking at the for side of the argument and the against side of the argument. And onto the against side, I guess, well, Guardiola isn't perfect. He is only human. Sometimes he will make mistakes too. I think only time will tell whether this is a mistake, and maybe we'll never even know. But we can't always put people on these pedestals that they're untouchable. That just isn't isn't healthy. Football is a game of opinions. Football is so exciting for that reason alone, that we all have these wildly differing views. I personally will ever blindly not question any manager we have, regardless if Pep wins 4 trebles in a row. I will still sometimes question a decision. He will question his own decisions. He will make mistakes. He says he makes mistakes, so we can't just presume because Guardiola does it, it's therefore right. Football isn't that simple. People aren't that simple, but that's what makes the game so interesting. And maybe it doesn't send out a good message to the EDS that these players that work really hard, that are absolutely striving for a chance with the first team, they couldn't even get on the bench despite there being a slot there for no one. The invisible man was sat on the bench while they were scratching their arses on a Saturday morning, no doubt. It probably doesn't send the best message to them. You could turn around and say that emotionally they may have been hurt a little bit by that. I know football isn't a soft game, but you could turn around and think, well, that could have been one of us there, but he chose no one. If he's choosing no one ahead of me, what does that mean? Now I'm putting words into their mouth there. It's all hypotheticals, of course, but that's why we're having this debate. I would turn around and argue, personally, that you could send a message, you could use a negative to make a positive. That's what I think always you should do as a manager. A negative in having no players available from the first team could be turned into a positive to give this young lad this chance to go along for the ride. And it's more than just going along for the ride for a young lad. Now, in general, Pep Guardiola often talks about how we don't prepare young players in this game for the experiences of top-flight football. He says the EDS is poor, which makes me confused as why he was bigging up the EDS, saying they should have been playing football, yet he's often talked about how it doesn't do enough for them to actually prepare him for first team football. Surely for one of the young lads, just being around the first team, that is absolutely huge experience for them. What's to say as well, some freak scenario wouldn't have happened where we were 6-0 up at Burnley and you've got a young winger on the bench there and you think, you know what, I'm going to give him his debut because why not? We're 6-0 up, we've won the game, and that will mean the world for him. You'll learn more in that 10 minutes than he will in 90 minutes for the yes, and that's a fact. But immediately you remove that opportunity by not having him there in the first place. That surely can't be a good thing. Pep talks all the time about players struggling to bridge that gap between youth football and first team football. So maybe that was a chance that we've just wasted for no reason to help do that. It's just an opinion. A lot of people have said as well, maybe those players haven't earned the spot, and maybe there is some semblance of truth in that. But I think that's a little bit narrow-minded. I would argue Matt Smith, a tenacious, hard-working footballer, is more than good enough to be on the bench there. It's an 18-year-old tenacious box-to-box midfielder. Maybe Alvaro Del Wilson, a 19-year-old Dutch under-20 international winger. Maybe he's not been our best player, but you've got to consider Marcus Rashford wasn't even United's most talented youth player. He wasn't deemed that way when he got his opportunity at United. He was just thrown into the limelight given the fact there was loads of injuries, and there was even some injuries in the youth system at the time, so he was just the next in line. And look what happened there. The rest is history. You look at the likes of Lorenzo Gonzalez, a very hard-working, very skillful little forward, maybe Rabi Matondo, a young Welsh wonder kid, or even the under-17 World Cup winner, Joel Latibaudiere. Yes, he isn't an attacker, maybe we didn't need him, but I'm sure he would have deserved to be on that squad if he'd wanted to be there, and it definitely would have wanted to be there. It would have been huge for him to be involved. And the biggest one for me was maybe Tom Dele-Bashir, a man who had 40 minutes against Leicester in the League Cup and was largely very good for a player making his debut thrown into the deep end. He definitely deserved a spot on the bench given how well he played last time. Now, why all of a sudden does he not deserve it? Guardiola would turn around and say that they didn't have enough time to organise this. And that's probably a fair argument. But I would turn around and say, if you know players are going to be injured, you plan ahead and you say, don't play that player because we might need that player. I'm sure Tom would have loved to have been there. It's all hypothetical, of course. And I'm sure the players understand where Guardiola's coming from, but it's definitely something to consider. People would turn around and say they wouldn't have played anyway, what does it matter? It's not really the point. It's about the individuals. It's about what they would experience being with the first team. It's about what they would have learned in that environment. And that is absolutely crucial for them. But ruling out moments of unexpected magic when we do things like this. This is why I like having these young lads on the bench, just in case. It's absolutely huge for their potential development. It also doesn't help the wider perception of the academy, whether we like it or not. You looked at all the articles, all the Think articles, Gary Neville, people like that criticising the academy, and these ex-pros in general, they have not been happy with this. Now, I'm not saying you have to agree with them, of course you don't. Maybe they're wrong, and they probably are wrong compared to Guardiola 99% of the time, but the wider perception of the academy isn't helped by things like this. It shows City, to some people, or someone not willing to give these young players a chance. It shows them as untrusting, and it kind of validates in some people's eyes the likes of Jadon Sancho's opinion. Some people would say maybe Namacha would have been on the bench, Foden wouldn't have been on the bench if they hadn't been injured, and that's actually probably true. But someone would say, do they have to only be a core select group of players? Can't an opportunity come from one of the young lads who maybe not be the most talented, but also works very hard? It's a fair argument to consider, definitely. I think in general, where we can, we should always do the PR thing. I think it's great to see a young 17-year-old, 18-year-old lad on the bench. Everyone gets excited by it, the player learns from it, and we gain absolutely nothing from not putting that young lad on the bench personally. I don't think we've got anything other than negative press, and it could have been easily ignored by just ringing them and telling them to just jump on the coach to Burnley. It's around the corner. That's my personal opinion on it. I am biased there, as I told you at the start of the video. I'm a massive advocate of youth football, so I want to know what you think about this. There's loads of arguments to and fro. I could be wrong. I'm humble enough to admit that. I feel strongly one way, but I suspect many people rightfully will feel strongly the other way. It's a very interesting debate. One, it isn't going to go anywhere, given the fact that we've got no games until the weekend. It's an interesting one. Guys, I want to know what you think in the comments, because this is the kind of stuff that I find fascinating personally. I find there is no really right or wrong answer. People are just either really strong one way or another, and some people are just on the fence and don't give a shit in the middle. That's totally fine as well. It's interesting though, isn't it? It's got me ranting anyway, and I think that's what football does the best for us, when it gets us going. Anyway guys, let me know in the comments. There's loads to discuss there. Don't forget, no one is wrong. Be nice in the comments, because it's just a game after all. Like this video, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Hello there guys, it's Stephen here. Thanks for watching another Esteemed Kompany video. I want to say a big thank you to all these names scrolling down the screen. These are the people that keep the lights on here at Esteemed Kompany HQ. Not that it's a HQ, but you know what I mean. These guys are supporting the channel on Patreon. If you want to get involved, patreon.com/Esteemed Kompany. It means the world to me, and so does you just watching these videos, liking, commenting, sharing. It means loads. Guys, thank you very much, and I will see you tomorrow.